Buenas noches, everyone. I hope everybody's doing well, blessed, and enjoying family. As always, muchas gracias to all for everyone's words, wishes, prayers, as I love and support everyone shares and extends my way. From the heart, thank you. Also, do please like, share, subscribe, and hype the video to help the message get out a little further. Thank you. Well, getting right into it. Today I got asked on the live if I could touch on something on Tupi. And as everyone knows, I only touch on things I had personal crossings with. I don't go off of he said, she said type of stuff, right? And unfortunately, Tupi, he's before my time, He was around when I came into the system, but he was already in the no good status, getting spaced out. But what I do want to get into today is an ex camarada, Shadow, from Ontario, and just basically my personal, you could say, crosses with the conversation of the ex Pili Tupi, right? And I could go back to when I had my first celly, right? The Señor Raúl Corona. He, of course, he spoke to me about Tupi, about Cuate, about Topo, about numerous appeals that were power hungry, right? And him being from Riverside, from the IE, of course, he touched on Tupi, right? How he was fighting for a position basically that does not exist per se. There is antiquity and respect amongst the organization, but to say there's a Godfather, that's a strong word that I don't think we will ever see that, right? There's just too much I need what you have type of mentality, right? And anyways, he told me how Tupi was trying to get younger Pilis to basically build this base of power against Topo, right? And you know, I just heard him out at the moment. Again, it was just nothing but leche I needed to take in, and it's kind of what the message is that I'm trying to put out, which is it was just kind of awareness and inlight on the different types of characters amongst Spilis, right? But I want to fast forward to 2001. I just barely got to Tehachapi, right, to the shoe, and I told in past stories, my van neighbors was Toro from Cuca and Creeper from Ontario. Not the white boy Creeper that's real famous, but the Pili, Creeper Rodriguez. Anyways, right when I got there, maybe a few days, it wasn't even very long, down the tier, a camarada got there. When he got there, he was single celled, couldn't have a celly, and once you're in the system, you tend to feel the tension, right? Either when you're on the yard or even when you're in the shoe, right? It's just sometimes camaradas get to the shoe and, hey, homie, for example, Well, I used myself, I shot my paperwork and camaradas got on the tears and addressed my paperwork, right? On a positive note. And then you have like homeboy that got there, everything goes quiet. And, getting on the van with a creeper, most of all, right? Everything belonged to T, but I was on the van with Creeper, He basically told me that they needed a favor, that basically they were trying to see if he could get clear for a celly, and of course I said, like, what's up, con todo respeto, do know if needed, I'm here. I was at that state of mind, excuse me, at the moment that whatever was needed, and he said they had a candidate, but if something was to go south, that of course they'll take me up on my offer, right? And that goes to show, even though I was already, you could say, with a little bit more clecha, I was still that idiot, right? Raising my hand again. My goal was to leave my neighborhood in the correct years, right? To put the town on the map. I understood a lot of things that, you know, that a lot of my younger homies would not understand that when it goes in the system now, things were very different. But anyways, nevertheless, there was a homie from Purdue, and he was in C-section, right? They call him what's the homie's name? Diablo, I believe. Diablo or Lucifer, one of them two. Disculpenme. Just for the sake of the tale, is I will say Diablo. I'm more than positive it was Diablo. But anyways, homie went to comedian after so many years of being in single cell. You see, back in the days, he was under Tupi, and being under Tupi, basically, he did what he had to do as a camarada. He got given an order, and he went through with it, to the dot. He went out and he whacked somebody, caught a shoe, came back, just to find out that Tupi brainwashed him. You know, a lot of people would say he stays spaced out. I don't know, but there was a few cases, that after he had already been whacked and removed, he was able to get in homies' heads to do his bidding, and the camarada got sent out to remove homie that had nothing wrong with him. He was just supporting a different Pili that Tupi didn't like or didn't agree with, right? But again, his liking or disliking, agreement or whatever didn't count no more. He was trash now, Nevertheless, this homie Shadow, those are from Ontario. You will know who I'm speaking on. He had a he had been shot in the face on the right side. You know, he literally had on one cheek the scar to the bullet, right? Besides the tattoos, but you would pinpoint him a lot easier that way, And ever since then, the vato, he was single cell, right? Because it happened in a cell. You know, again, I go back to a lot of people say Tupi was up there, but he finessed certain stuff even when he had been whacked and removed, right? I guess he was one of the individuals he never stopped believing he was a carnal and would always be right. A real now you Tupi you could definitely speak of a high ranking member with antiquity that I speak on, right? As Topo, as Cuate, and then you see what happened with all of them. But getting back to Shadow, he would go to committee and basically they lifted that single cell status and that group yard and they could have they could have gotten him on the group yard, right? That's along the line, I guess he got validated too. He was his plan wasn't to be into atrophy, but nevertheless, how the organization works. They want somebody, they're going to try to pull you out to court, and between Pelican Bay and court, you're going to do a bunch of stops. You know, for how long? That depends on the Hudas. But anyways, the homie D Diablo would end up moving in with him, right? And within minutes, right, the homie went to town, and I remember we started hitting the doors because the vato, he was getting booked, so he was loud about it. Those that have been into HP, is not like the other two shoes. These are solid doors though, so it buffers the noise, you could say. So it was one of them times that when they dragged the homie or the vato Shadow, I swore that Diablo had taken his life, by the looks of things. And nah, it wasn't even like that. The vato lived, and I got to read that on my bill, that he was didn't want to lock it up, He was explaining himself mainly to Creeper, but he was directing everything to Toro out of respect, and basically explained everything from the beginning to the end with Tupi, and how he was back there with him, and through the van he got in his head, and he thought he was doing the correct thing because who he was, right? He went out to the yard, and he was finessed to sell up with this individual and took care of business. I mean, really took care of business, not like just a pegada type of thing, right? And that's how he ended up back in the shoe, single cell. And then through conversations, people are telling he got validated, and he was saying that he cleared his stuff up with certain individuals, mainly Tio Pio, right? That he had cleared things up, but Tio Pio was considered no good when he passed on, right? And the other individual had recently dropped out, so it was all bad. His foundation, right? That he was asking or trying to explain himself on how he got clear for doing that move, and then how he got fooled by Tupi, right? And he wasn't the only one, right? And another couple battles that follow Tupi's game playing, or you know getting in their head, they got forgiven. But this was different. It was personal with Creeper, and it was personal with T because of the area, right? For some reason, I don't know, didn't really like him, and you know, he started rocking him to sleep. He said it's gonna be a long haul before we could touch him again, but it's better to have another opportunity, right? And he would eventually get moved to where he was headed, and don't know what happened, right? After that, but if he ever got a celly again or believed that drag along, he had no forgiveness for following Tupi's orders, you know, and that's basically the in-look on this one, right? The message for those first timers that are going there. You see, there's a lot of game playing between Apili and Camaradas. What I mean by that, sometimes there's power moves, literally. On this one, we're speaking about Tupi, and we all know what happened with him. And he worked his homeboy and had his homeboy catch a 187 that would later lead to, instead of getting props, getting deemed, right? But Tupi was no good. But it happens with Pilis that are in good standings now. They literally will send you on a mission. Then when it bounces back and you try to lean on them, they play that I don't know what he's talking about trick. Oh, he's lying on me. Oh, he moved on your soldier. Go ahead and whack him and remove him. It's easily to sacrifice a camarada than to go to war with one of his brothers. And every one of them knows how the game playing goes. They know the truth, but to them it's easier to keep it peaceful at least and get rid of the camarada and behind the scenes start politicking on that Billy too and start working his soldados or his stage of power. It's just something to expect for those that haven't been there that go. Again, this is just an in look. You see, I remember when I got to Corcoran, in Fort Wright, there was those high protected pesetas, and I remember there was Veneno from Pomona and Apache from Garrity, and they were supposed to be bone stone cold killers, right? And I remember every time we came out the block, they would get on that fence and woof, like you wouldn't even have no idea. Their true colors for some reason come out, right? And it's just things, that I know with this recent thing about Robert. A lot of people are questioning a lot of things, and let me just say this: it's all a political move. You know, not gonna say they were lies because they're not, but you could say they were sacrificing him, right, for the benefit of San Diego. And we're talking about an old man. So again, for those that haven't been there or are on their way, to come across this message, this is just an insight on what to expect and them heartaches that you're gonna confront. If you haven't been there, I hope this is just a cautionary tale in case you're ever in that situation. You This could help, not in the sense of causing poison or you sticking up or saying something or doing something against how the cause is formed, right? to say it like that, but just so that when someone's coming at you with BS, you already gone and came back and gone again and can foresee it and tiptoe around it. Again, my objective is not to spread poison, it's to give you an in look so you value what's there. Take it from an idiot that he's knocking on that door and there's nothing there. But with this said, I hope this story made a little sense. It's the best I could do on a personal tip. Touch on my crossings with something with Tupi. And it had to do with this Vato Shadow from that was supposed to be his homeboy, from Ontario Black Angels. And, he got played. I think that's why he was able to get in his head. Tupi was, as I heard, a veterano in Ontario Black Angels, so he had that wiggle with his hood, and then he was known inside too. But then again, be careful when they try to lead you to do an action that's gonna have a reaction against you. You see, I don't know where it went that you were able to question everything. Remember your career, your skin is on the line. I understand that warrior mentality, that vámonos type of thing, right? They send you on a mission, puesto, let's boogie, and you take care of it. But if you don't do your homework, you could be left alone. Please stay true to yourself, loyal to loved ones. Enjoy freedom, enjoy life.